It seems that every dispute over whether to believe or not believe in a religious faith always begins with the fallacy of false equivalence, where the faith-based position gets defensive, twisting everything around as if they have the evidence and we're the ones being irrational. Believers try to project their own faults onto those who will not share them, even to the point of projecting their faith, too, as if a lack of and objection to religion is somehow a religion itself. There's a certain irony in the faithful accusing the infidel of having faith, so that the unbeliever is just as bad as the believer. Is this a Freudian admission that they know that faith isn't really the virtue they once made it out to be? Now, we all have beliefs, but in different contexts. The question is whether we base our beliefs on evidence or on faith in lieu of evidence. And trusting in science is not the same thing as having faith in a religion. Faith isn't just a synonym of trust. There's a prefix and suffix required to turn mere trust into faith. Faith is a complete trust that is not based on evidence. And to avoid confusion, I won't say that I have faith in anything, but I have substantial evidence in everyone and everything that I trust. If I say that I believe something, it means that I think it's probably at least mostly true, but that I don't know it to be true because I can't prove it. But a believer uses belief as a deliberate act of will determined to make believe and acting as if they know it to be so. It is dishonest to assert baseless speculation as though it were a matter of fact, but that's what all religions do, because faith is all about citing facts that are not facts and pretending to know what no one even can know. It's okay to say that you believe X, but once you state that X is true, then you bear the burden of proof to back that up and show that it's true, which no religion can do. And if I say, this is what I believe, then they say, aha, you have beliefs too, as if I'm trying to consciously convince myself. I'm not a pretender like they are. So to avoid confusion again, I won't say that I believe, I'll say what I think instead. Theists and atheists both see religion as a net negative. Christians, for example, say that they don't believe in religion, that Christianity isn't a religion, it's a philosophy or a personal relationship with their God. And they know better than that, and they get very upset when Muslims or Hindus make these same claims. And they'll immediately change or reverse their position once you point out that Christianity is the world's leading religion. Because if Christianity is not a religion, that makes Islam the dominant religion around the world, which it soon will be anyway, but Christian dominionists can't admit that. And plenty of atheists, too, will use religion as a pejorative against any socio-political or economic position they don't like, just like theists do with atheism, especially creationists against what they call evolutionism. So, is evolution a religion? Let's put it this way. Paleontologist Robert T. Bacher, molecular biologist Kenneth Miller, and Francis Collins, director of the Human Genome Project, are all devout, Bible-believing Christians who believe that God created the world and all life in it, but that he used evolution as his mechanism. So how many religions do each of these theistic evolutionists have? One, of course. And they all share the same religion as these other Christians, even though they're all creationists. So evolution is not a religion, but what about atheism? There are atheist religions, being those that don't necessarily include a God, like animism, Druidism, pantheism, Buddhism, Taoism, and Chinese ancestor worship. However, when people talk about atheists, they typically mean rationalists, skeptical, apostatists like myself, who don't believe anything supernatural because we don't believe anything on faith, and that eliminates religion. So, what are we talking about? What is religion? That is hard to define. In fact, my professor in the history of comparative world religions thought it impossible, but I'm into classifying things. And I realized that every religion, universally accepted as such by both its adherents and critics, is a faith-based belief system positing the notion that a supernatural essence of self somehow survives the death of the physical body to continue on in some other form. Every religion believes this, but atheism doesn't. Neither atheism nor evolution are based on faith. Nor are they belief systems, having neither required beliefs nor prohibited beliefs. Neither one requires the adoption or rejection of the notion that all living things might have some supernatural or spiritual life force. You're free to believe whatever unsubstantiated nonsense you want to, because atheism is typically associated with free thought, and so are all of the sciences, of course. But if you believe in a spiritual life force, you better not mention it in any of the papers submitted to peer review, because there's no evidence of it and no possibility established for it either. So, neither atheism nor evolution qualifies as a religion in any sense. But some people skip past the obvious and go for the least applicable context, saying that a religion is anything you're interested in. So that atheism is a religion in exactly the same way that being unemployed and not working is your job. I know a personal example illustrative of this position. Someone I've known for a long time who has never cracked open a Bible and doesn't care what it says. He doesn't know what a creed is, and he lived his whole life as if no God was paying attention to anything he ever did. His favorite thing is football. He has the jerseys, the posters, the coffee mugs, the jewelry, and all of that of his favorite team, as if that team is what he worships. Yet, if you tell him that the Dallas Cowboys are his religion, he'll say no, that he's a Christian, because it doesn't matter how interested you are in whatever hobby or vocation you have, that doesn't make it a religion. And certainly the rejection of religion can't be a religion. But let's play devil's advocate. Let's integrate evolution with atheism like creationists want to, and see what it'd be like if evolution were a religion. And my friend Joon made a movie about that, about a world where evolutionists go door-to-door canvassing to gain converts.
We're just in your local area talking to people about Charles Darwin's theory of evolution.
A world terrorized by Darwinist extremists.
We will kill all those who deny the theory of natural selection.
A world with violent religious conflicts between different denominations of unbelievers.
A couple of agnostics beat me up.
You're lucky it was agnostics, you know, not one of Hitchens' atheist contrarians. You'd be in hospital.
Yeah, well, they gave up halfway through. You know what agnostics are like. They can't see the argument through.
But in this world, as in the real world, we still have the religious right spewing hatred as they typically do.
All critical thinking leads to ignorance and terrorism!
It's just that in this fantasy world, that actually happens.
Long live the atheist revolutionary army.
Peace through critical thinking be upon you.
They're not real atheists, they're just extremists.
If evolutionism were a religion, we wouldn't rely on state-funded schools. Instead, we'd have sectarian schools attached to sacred temples. Oh, so many temples. Everywhere. Massive, multi-million-dollar mega-temples. They wouldn't be dedicated to science because that has to be supported by evidence and challenged in peer review. Instead, our temples would be dedicated to the sacred fables to be swallowed on faith alone. Darwin's book wouldn't do it. He was still a Christian when he wrote that. And Dawkins' book wouldn't do it either because it doesn't tell the story. And maybe we should just staple the two together like an Old and New Testament. And then we'd have to pretend that it was given to us in a spiritual revelation by someone else. Let's imagine a belief system founded by Democritus, or perhaps on the wisdom of Epicurus. And the first great schism came when Thomas Huxley founded the heretical agnostic cult. Because every religion has to have not only a founder, but an unquestioned authority. Though we don't really have that, do we? In science, we don't believe in authority. We don't listen to people just because they're a professor. We go to the evidence. The evidence of evolution is utterly overwhelming. It doesn't matter whether that particular professor believes it or not. Look at the evidence yourself. If evolutionism was a religion, we wouldn't have free thinkers. We'd have clergy mandating what you must believe and punishing heresy or apostasy if you don't. The high priests would strictly control every aspect of morality, but they would also wear dresses and big silly hats while performing weird rituals of strange behavior, pretending to be oh so much wiser and holier than everyone else, which is why ordinary people would readily turn over their children for private instruction. There would be sacred garments and holy days that we don't have right now and don't have any reason to make up either. And we still wouldn't have a magic imaginary friend to talk to and no star to wish on to change reality whenever we need an emotional crutch. If there was a religion of evolutionism, why would we need all the evidence that we keep digging up or discovering in the lab? We'd stop looking for all that and be just like every other religion. Make believe whatever we want to just because we want to, or believe what you're told just because I said so. Why would you want or need a reason? Because Not everyone has a deep-seated irrational need to believe. Some of us only want to improve our understanding of the way things really are, regardless what the truth turns out to be. So not every belief is religious. That's why, of course, there's no such thing as evolutionism. Evolution is science, and science is the antithesis of faith. Not because it prohibits personal belief in the supernatural, because it doesn't. Just don't partake in spirits until you're off the clock, because science doesn't allow faith on the job. Science works opposite of faith because it seeks to minimize or eliminate biases by requiring that all proposed explanations be based on demonstrable evidence, where all assumptions are questionable and all hypotheses are testable and verifiable or potentially falsifiable, because it doesn't matter what you'd rather believe. Instead, you have to show what you know and work out how to know better, regardless or in spite of faith. And importantly, every religion shards off in random directions, like throwing darts blindfolded and then drawing bullseyes around wherever they hit. Changing religions means buying into a new doctrine with new costumes or hairstyles, and that's about it. But if you walk away from all faiths, discarding faith itself, you follow evidence instead, which doesn't lead every which way like autodeceptive faith, but zeroes in on the one and only evident reality, regardless whether you want to believe in it or not.
In science, we can